Hi, Lorez. Thank you for coming and talking with me today about the needs language. So, we've been talking about this a little bit and they've introduced you to it. And I kind of was curious, your opinion on it and what you've been thinking. And so, would you like to tell me what you've been thinking about the needs language? And
well, before we came out, I was just curious. And then as you started talking about this whole, new way of communicating, I think it's a great tool to use for anyone because, I don't care how good you are in your relationship. These tools are something that you can use for the rest of your lifetime. Different situations come up and it kind of lets you know how to handle the different things. And if you know who you are, like I'm an important, valuable person, so now I know how to handle certain situations with family members, friends, and it's not, I like it because it's not, people don't feel like they have to be on their guard, they don't feel threatened and they don't feel like they have to defend themselves. And that's a good way to get into something like that when you're talking about communicating. But yeah, I like it. I mean, I would use it. It's an everyday tool. And if everyone thought that way, I think everyone would be in a better space with each other, because a lot of us don't know how to communicate, and then after a while people stop listening because they have the defense mode up and nobody's listening to each other. We're just talking at each other instead to each other. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing. And I think the more people find out about it and put it into their everyday communication skills and use it, hey, it's going to go somewhere,
So when I first started explaining to you, did you find it fairly simple and quick to understand?
I did.
Okay.
Because once you find out what category you're in, like knowing you as a person, how you react, and that's the thing, it's knowing you. You can't change anybody else. They have to change themselves. But I think the tool, the key is knowing who you are. And then you go from there and just handle things as long as you know where you're at. And, so.
And when you kind of started to see your husband too in this, did it kind of give you a little more understanding for him, but also a little more enjoyment with him in some aspects too?
Yeah, because, he learned more about it. We kind of laughed about it, like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. This is where you're at. And, now he's wanting to know more and more about it, But I think once you understand it, you can go a long way with it. And you can just use it for, like I said, I want to start using it for my kids, because a lot of times you as parents, your kids are in a different mental state and they are like defensive and they know everything a lot of times. And, they're in a different generation. So, you want them to understand it and be more aware of who they are, by knowing through these, the different categories, control and importance and important and right. And it's a whole new concept for me, but I think it's fairly simple.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I noticed and we kind of talked about is that I would talk to my son. We met in the valuable, but he was right and I was important, and I would talk to him in important language instead of right language, and he would be like all over. I mean, we weren't connecting, and it was harder because of that misconnect. Did you kind of notice that in some aspects with your kids at all?
Well, now that you told me about this whole concept, I can look back and say, yeah, I didn't really word that the right way. Now I know why we clashed in a lot of ways. So now that I understand this concept, I can come to him and go in at a different approach. And I think that would be a better way of us communicating instead of clashing with each other, because that's what would happen. And then we never got anywhere. So you're going back and forth, you're frustrated. But I think with this, this will help me in a lot of situations with my kids, and maybe we'll have a better relationship too.
Well, and that's exciting. See, now that's what I find is exciting, is that it gives you the ability to understand that other person's perspective and have that opportunity to have a better relationship.
Right. and then with you. And so, you know, and then they learn it and they pass it on.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that can change people's lives.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that. And so I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can see good things happening with this.
Yeah.
And the workplace, family,
Yeah.
I can go on and on, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I do have one other little question, because I kind of noticed one other thing with this is that, and we kind of talked just briefly, just that 1 second. Did you kind of notice that there are sometimes you're kind of annoyed with people, but you kind of now have a little understanding why you're annoyed because of that language model, and it gives you more of an understanding not to maybe be as so annoyed, maybe be a little more tolerant? I mean,
Yeah, just learn how to react differently.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Sometimes we don't understand, so we tend to get defensive and get pissed off. And it's like, now I understand why. So now I can pick a better way of communicating with that person
Mm-hmm.
and still feel good about it.
Yeah.
And maybe they won't react either. But, you know, like you said, how you come across to people means a lot.
Yeah.
And we just have to know that we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all get pissed off sometimes. We all have our angry moments, but that's just
Yeah.
being human, you know? So,
Well, Lorez, I am so excited. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about this,
oh, yeah.
because I'm really excited about this model, because I really want to create something simple that would help a lot of people
Yes.
in their communication and create belonging and resolve conflict.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
Thank
so
you for
excited.
for explaining all this to me. And it's going to change my life, so I'm really excited about it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I see all good things happening with this.
Oh, well, thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.